It's Friday, June 9th. My birthday is in 10 days, 2017. I'm Sam Sheffer, and you are watching Technically Speaking. If this is your first time watching the show, welcome. We talk about tech here on the show. It takes place live in our studio right here in New York City. For today's poll, we start off the show with a poll. I'd like to know what you most desire in a smartphone. Is it a higher resolution, more pixel-dense display? Is it a better front-facing camera? Do you want louder speakers, more battery life, maybe a hardware keyboard? Let me know what the one feature or improvement you'd like to see in your next smartphone. I'll take a look at the comments later on in the show. Got a couple of good stories to get through today, so I'm just going to dive right in. The 22nd annual E3, that's Electronic Entertainment Expo, takes place next week. But the action technically starts tomorrow, which is Saturday. E3 is where all of the big video game companies show off what they've been working on and what video games we'll get later this year and going into next. The first stream, so the first press conference that's being streamed, is EA, Electronic Arts, and that takes place at 3 p.m. Eastern Time tomorrow. And we'll probably see a new Star Wars game or two and some sports games, because they're known for sports games. Sunday is the Microsoft press conference. That starts at 5 p.m. Eastern. And we'll hear a lot about Project Scorpio, the company's super powerful Xbox console that's set to come out later this year. For more info on E3, tune into Mashable.com. We've got you on the coverage. And if you're just tuning into the stream, I want to go back for a second and say that today's poll, it's not exactly a poll, but I'm curious to know what features you want to see in your next smartphone. Do you want more battery life? Do you want louder speakers? Do you want more RAM? Do you want a more pixel-dense display? Smartphones are really, really great supercomputers in our pockets, but we always want more. Let me know what the one feature you want to see in your next smartphone is, and we'll talk about it later on in the show. So speaking of video games, speaking of E3, we got a 30-second teaser video of Super Nintendo World. That's right. A section of Universal Studios Japan is being turned into a Nintendo theme park that's set to open in the next couple of years. It's mostly renders at this point, but let's take a look at the preview. Ray, switch it up.
Here we go! Woohoo! Hello! Let's go!
That's gonna be awesome. And we've got some photos of the designs that are supposedly being built out. So I'm gonna just open up some tweets here. And you notice there's a Bowser castle. So they've totally broke ground in this theme park. These are photos that were taken on or around June 5th. As you can see, the date this tweet was posted. There's a couple of more. So here are some of the renders that they've kind of like have these patent drawings, it looks like. Looks like going to be a Donkey Kong ride, which is amazing. And then we've got some photos of what looks like the entrance to the Mushroom Kingdom. I am very, very excited about this being in the real world. I'd love to take a trip to Japan and experience this for myself in person whenever it opens. Very excited about this. I don't think there's a Nintendo theme park elsewhere in the world now. I think this is Nintendo's first theme park. Did you know that back in the 80s and 90s, Apple did a lot of merch, some for regular consumers and some for just employees? Now, you probably heard about this already, but a pair of Apple shoes from the early 90s has been dominating the tech news sector this week. I've had at least 10 people send me this story. A seemingly dead stock pair of kicks is being auctioned off on eBay with a starting bid of $15,000. Apple sneakers. They're a size 9.5 if you're curious. So this is the eBay listing right here. I'm on the page. Apple computer sneakers, circa early 90s, 9.5. So not really a big description. This is mostly discussing payment and shipping, but it says Apple computer sneakers circa early 1990s, size 9.5. These sneakers were produced by Apple exclusively for their employees in the early 90s. Sneaker authentication provided by StockX. I'm not sure what this HID number is. Maybe that's like some sort of auction tracker they use. There's some sort of auction that they're auctioning off collectible sneakers, urban art, and objects by Heritage Auctions. Happens in Dallas, Texas, but you can bid right on eBay. Personally, I don't know that these shoes are worth $15,000, but someone's going to bid on them, and they're going to win a pretty dope piece of vintage Apple history, if I do say so myself. And just as an aside, I actually own the oversized Apple crew neck from 1986, from the Apple collection in 1986. Here's a photo of me standing outside WWDC at the San Jose McHenry Convention Hall this week at WWDC. I got some nice compliments from the Apple employees. So that's me standing in front of the convention center right after WWDC. The keynote ended. I've got the vintage Apple sweatshirt. And if you've been paying attention to the WWDC news, you might actually have seen a photo of like a product, but with me in the background wearing this sweatshirt. A couple of my friends were like, oh, I saw you on Recode, or I saw you on Wall Street Journal, or whatever. Wearing that sweatshirt, it's a very noticeable thing when it happens, and it photographs super well. From being a sweatshirt that was literally made 30 years ago, that thing is still fire, if I do say so myself. And the last story I want to touch on, GoPro's got a new 360 camera that's not out yet, but Ray Wong, our senior tech correspondent who was on the show for the last 2 episodes, got his hands on one in Colorado yesterday. He also got to hang out with GoPro's CEO. So this new camera is called the Fusion 360, and it's apparently the equivalent of 6 GoPros in one. Let me just bring up the article here so we can show you a photo of it. As Ray puts it, 360 videos are captured in 5.2K resolution at 30 frames per second. Quote, GoPro showed me the Relive Reality 360 video trailer with a Samsung Gear VR, which made the footage look even more immersive than it did on YouTube through a web browser. Perhaps the most extraordinary feature is the Fusion's stitching. So this is where it gets interesting. Ray says, GoPro says it'll share more deets later, but from what I saw in the Gear VR, there's virtually none of the usual patchiness at the base of the 360 camera, where most 360 cameras can't see. This patchiness usually horrifically stitches the tripod or your hand. Some 360 videos cover this up with a logo or watermark, but it's hideous and breaks the immersion that 360 videos are supposed to bring to the table. End quote. So we don't know how much it's going to cost or when it's going to come out, but if you read the rest of this article, Ray seems to have come away quite impressed. I'm sure we'll get our hands on our own review unit in the coming weeks. So stay tuned for that. But this GoPro looks to be pretty impressive. It's a little bit on the larger side when you compare it to something directly like the new Samsung Gear 360. And here's Ray with Nick Woodman here. Let me unmute this. Or can you hear this? So that's Nick Woodman, the CEO of GoPro, barking for Ray on camera. That's truly amazing. All right, I'm gonna pull up some of these comments here. Let me see if I can grab this stream. Will this work? Can I see comments? Is this gonna work for me? Ray, keep the camera on me. I'm gonna stall because I'm having technical difficulties. Let me just see if I can pull up. Man, Facebook's video player. We do this on Facebook, but Facebook's video player, not the best experience in the entire world. I'm gonna make sure this doesn't, that you can't hear me. Okay, for me, battery life, as I said in my previous comment, the Seinfeld sticker's on point. Thank you, man. Johnny Jones, if it is just one feature, I'd say 4K up to 60 FPS. I want more battery life out of a phone. That's my main thing for me. Stunning 4K video, decent screen size, decent screen side camera. I don't know what that means. Good mic and IBIS. All right, so not too many comments, or I can't see that many comments. We've got 77 live viewers, so sound off if you're watching this stream. Let me know what feature, one singular feature that you think that your smartphone is missing right now, because I use an iPhone 7. I can't get through more than a day. I'd love a better front-facing camera. I'd love a hardware keyboard. I'd love 120 hertz refresh of the screen. I'd like a more pixel-dense display. I think we'll get a lot of these in the iPhone 8, but let me know what you have been jonesing for in your phone. If you have a Nexus 6P, or if you have a Galaxy S8, do you feel like your smartphone's perfect now? I would wager no, because smartphones, although I feel like they've peaked in terms of design, internals, I think we can do better, and definitely in terms of battery life. Front-facing cams still need work, and more, I think, deeper integration of the camera. Like, you should be able to record 24 frames a second on an iPhone, but that's beside the point. So I think that's coming to the end of our show. Stabilized front camera, says Nicolette Jimenez. I appreciate your comment. And Fran, thanks for tagging your friend. I appreciate that too. So not too many comments. If you're watching this, keep commenting while I end this show, and then I'll get back to your comments right after the show ends, because the show stays up and it lives forever, and the comments live forever. Damien says, but the iPhone is still a very good buy at the end of the day. I agree, but so are some of the high-end Android smartphones too. If you use Android and aren't as invested in iOS as I am, and a lot of iOS users are, there are some very good smartphone alternatives out there for Android users. But that's the end of the show. Thanks a bunch for tuning in. And I want to give a special shout out to my friend Elliot, who's at Dunk on Instagram. He's an all-around great dude who shreds the social media game. He actually works at VaynerMedia doing content directly for Gary himself. And I think I want to bring him on the show and talk to him about how he's got so deep into the social media game. He has, like I said, he has the at Dunk account on Instagram. He's also got the at Curry Instagram account, and he just completely dominates the social media game. And I'd like to have Gary on the show too. Why not? Gary also is a straight hustler. If you don't know Gary Vaynerchuk, you should definitely know Gary Vaynerchuk. He owns VaynerMedia and wants to buy the Jets eventually. And then Elliot is a good friend of mine. I want to start having some kind of outside guests. I bring on a lot of Mashable employees because they're experts in this stuff, but there are so many other wonderful people that I think you, the audience, would like to see me kind of interview and talk to on the show, because why not? All right, everyone, have a great weekend. I'll see you next week. That is Technically Speaking, Sam Sheffer reporting live from Mashable HQ in New York City. Have a great one.